What's up everyone? The wait is finally over. Persona 4 is finally available on all modern platforms. But also, more importantly, Persona 3 has finally gotten a re-release also on all modern platforms. So, I'm sure a lot of you are probably wondering how it is, how much of a step up it is from the PSP version, did it add any new features, and should you buy it? The answer is kind of complicated. I'm sure a lot of you have seen the discussion about this release, not all of which is favorable, and it comes with good reason. Frankly, while I'm glad that this release exists, it still feels incredibly lazy and underwhelming, especially for one that so many fans have been begging for years. Before I talk about the port itself, I want to talk about Atlus's decision to port Persona 3 Portable to modern consoles because, unlike Persona 4 Golden and Persona 5 Royal, where almost everyone unanimously agrees that these versions are better than the originals, that's not so much the case for Persona 3. Here, the fanbase is pretty evenly split on whether Portable is better or if FES is better. This is mainly because Atlus had to cut back and change a lot of things to make the game work under the limitations of the PSP. For one thing, there was no 3D explorable overworld. That was instead replaced with this point-and-click visual novel style overworld. The protagonist was limited to only using one-handed swords or naginatas, there were no FMV anime cutscenes, and there was no The Answer. However, to make up for this, there were also a lot of new features added, like a playable female protagonist who not only had her own unique social links, but you'd also get a pink UI and hear different music throughout the game. They also polished the gameplay by adding manual control to your party members, usable skill cards, they improved how knockdown worked, and they made it so that you couldn't get tired until after you're done exploring Tartarus. For these reasons, I do think Portable is the better version, but I also don't think this makes FES obsolete, and I don't think anyone is in the wrong for preferring FES over Portable. This is where the first and debatably biggest problem with this release comes from. The fact that they just ported Portable instead of giving us a definitive edition that combines the best aspects of both these games. One that includes all of the new features and fixes that Portable added, but with the 3D explorable overworld and The Answer and all that other stuff. Something we're probably never going to get now unless we get a fan project of it. I'll be completely honest, when this version was announced a few months ago, I didn't have too much of an issue with them porting over just Portable. I was just glad to see Persona 3 get a re-release, but now that I actually have my hands on it and have played it, it really hit me how much potential they missed out on by not releasing a definitive version. Not only because of the stripped content, but also because now fans are going to be even more alienated to said content. And for anyone that wants the complete Persona 3 experience, they still have to play both Portable and FES, the latter of which hasn't gotten a re-release since it came to the PSN store for the PS3 in 2012. Another thing is, and this may sound like a nitpick, but it just feels kind of jarring to be playing what is basically a technologically inferior version on these newer consoles. This isn't really something that I thought much about when it was announced, but the more I play, the weirder it feels to be playing such a compromised port of a game on a next-gen console or high-end gaming PC. Like I said, it can be easily argued that Portable is the better version, but that still doesn't change the fact that it was made with the limitations of the PSP in mind. It would be like if Sega re-released Sonic Unleashed on modern platforms, but it was the PS2 and Wii version. Yeah, most people would agree that version is better, but you'd still feel like some things are missing. This becomes even more apparent when you actually take the time to focus on the backgrounds. They do not look good, and clearly weren't ever meant to be displayed in any resolution beyond 480p. Maybe it would have helped had they actually made new ones, or put in some effort to remastering them, but that doesn't seem to be the case. It's been pretty much confirmed that they just used a free AI image upscaler called Waifu2X to quote-unquote improve the quality of the backgrounds, and it's not only very unprofessional, but it honestly makes it look worse than if they had just stretched the original backgrounds to 1080p. They may not look that bad at first glance, especially when you're more focused on the character portraits, which I will say do look okay, but once you actually start to try focusing on the background itself, you'll quickly notice that some things don't look right. And this is coming from someone who was playing it on a laptop. I don't even want to imagine what this might look like on a big living room TV being played from a PS5. This was also done for the in-game icons. Like, who at Atlus thought this was acceptable? There's also the way that so many of the sounds just sound very compressed and muffled. In fact, I think it sounds even worse than the PSP version.
Here goes. Here goes.
Then there's the lack of gameplay changes, though I honestly don't think there needed to be all that many. I do stand by my opinion that Persona 3 has the best gameplay in the series, but some quality of life improvements would have been nice. Like, how about letting me manually select which skills pass on through fusion? Seriously, why is this not in the game? I mean, I think it should have been added in the original Portable, but not having it in a remaster after more than a decade? Come on, guys, I thought we learned our lesson after Nocturne HD came out. This has been a staple feature in every Megaton game since Persona 4 Golden. There is no excuse for a remastered one in 2023 to not have one. To be fair, they did make a few quality of life improvements, albeit small ones, but they're still welcome nonetheless. One feature they added was a quick save feature where you can suspend your game and come back to it later, support for more languages like Spanish, German, and French. You can now customize your difficulty from the start, much like you could in the PC version of Golden, and you can change it anytime. Other than that, it's mostly standard stuff like faster loading times, being able to customize the display settings in the PC version, stuff like that. I can at least say that the graphics during battles and dungeon crawling look pretty good. I mean, the graphics for P3P were already solid for a PSP game, and while this isn't a drastic overhaul, I mean, you can still tell it was made for the PSP, but with this release, that jagged blockiness of the PSP is gone, and it really helps you appreciate the detail that went into these battle arenas, but that's about it. Overall, this has to be one of the most disappointing re-releases that Atlus has ever put out. It just comes across as lazy and reluctant, like Atlus remastered this game with the bare minimum amount of effort they needed to, and then rushed it out to make a quick buck off of all the fans eager for a way to play Persona 3 on modern hardware without emulating, while also silencing any of the lingering rumors that Persona 3 is getting a remake. Don't get me wrong, I'm still glad this port exists so that more people can play it, and I still think it was necessary for this game to get some kind of re-release, but it's really hard to recommend to existing fans just because of the sheer lack of effort put in here. At least the price is pretty reasonable. In fact, it's the exact same price of the PSP version, which can still be purchased, thankfully, but still, I can only really recommend it if you haven't played Persona 3 yet. If you still own Portable on your PSP, Vita, or PSTV, just stick with that version. It's not worth dropping another $20 for. One more thing I should briefly talk about before I end the video, and something else I'm sure a lot of you are curious about, is whether or not they added anything to the new release of Persona 4 Golden that wasn't in the Steam version. The answer is technically yes. They did add in a few new features like quick save, more language support, and the ability to look back on social links you've been working on. These additions came with the console and Microsoft Store re-releases in mind, but they are being added as a free update to the Steam version, so there's literally no reason to double dip if you already own the Steam version. That is, unless you absolutely have to own the console version too, and or up until now you were playing on a 32-bit version of Windows, because this update also kills support for those. Anyways, guys, that's going to be it for this video. Be sure to rate, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Be sure to tell me what you think of these re-releases. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Do you think it's worth your money? Are you satisfied with this release of Persona 3 Portable? And yeah, other than that, if you want to support me financially, consider leaving me a coffee donation of just $3. And until the next video, I will see you guys later.